You know, many people picture heaven as a never-ending church service in the sky. Or they think that we will all become angels and float around on clouds, playing a harp or something for the rest of eternity. Well, I have to say that neither of these things of eternity make it very appealing to me, really, if I'm honest. Because in fact, the Bible does tell us that the heaven will be a glorious place full of grandeur. We will experience fullness of joy as we live in the presence of God and have fellowship with one another. Do you know, there are so many reasons to look forward to heaven. For one, our friendships are going to be so much richer, my friends. You know, one of the most fascinating glimpses we have of heaven is found in Hebrews chapter 12. It's a passage that provides a list of heaven's inhabitants. Let us just hear what it says. I'm going to read to you from Hebrews chapter 12, 22 to 23. It says this: "But you have come to Mount Zion, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You have come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly, to the church of the firstborn, whose names are written in heaven. You have come to God, the judge of all men, to the spirits of righteous men made perfect." Now, that group, okay, who in it is boring? You know, my friends, the Bible tells us that we're going to spend eternity with God, with his angels, with the Old Testament saints, and with Christians through all the ages, because we believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. And we have been saved. And we are a born-again people. We have been, well, we've met with him. Can you imagine being in an environment like that we've just heard that's described in the book of Hebrews? You know, my friends, there's not going to be any more misunderstandings or tiffs or any tension amongst us. Our relationships will be so much healthier in heaven than down here on earth. Down here we have problems, don't we? We have problems even with our closest friends. You know what that's like, don't you? Someone says something to you and you aren't sure how to interpret it. You react to it. Perhaps you overreact. You say to yourself, I wonder what they meant by that. You say, I wonder why she said that to me. Who do they think that they are saying that to? Well, in heaven, there's going to be none of that. Our relationships will be honest, interesting, loving, and uncomplicated by sin or indeed our sinful natures. We will dwell with God, the angels, and one another in perfect compatibility and refreshing intimacy. We will all be together in heaven. It won't make any difference where we've lived on earth or wherever we've come from. Imagine being best friends with people who we've read about in the Bible. We've only read about them, but we can be their best friends in heaven. You know, I'm eager to meet Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Can you imagine having time to talk to people like Mother Teresa or even Martin Luther King? Personally, Ian Browning would like to have a serious chat with William Booth. I'd like to have a conversation with Charles Wesley and with John Wesley as well in particular. So, who would you want to speak to? Who would you want to have time to talk openly to in heaven? Because heaven's going to be an incredible time of unlimited fellowship with people who have lived in all ages, and I just can't begin to comprehend it. But my friends, I know it's true. The Lord Jesus even gave us a glimpse of this on the Mount of Transfiguration, when he stood there talking to Moses and Elijah, just as the 12 disciples listened to that amazing conversation. And just don't get me started on the fellowship that we'll enjoy with angels. In heaven, we will be part of it all. Our heroes, our friends, our ancestors, our descendants, it will be all who know Jesus. They will be there with us. What about working or serving in heaven? Many people, they don't think about heaven as being a place of work, but it says they think of it as being a place of rest, rest in peace. But in heaven, let me tell you, two things go together: work and rest. Personally, I wouldn't want to spend eternity with nothing to do. I've struggled during this lockdown, my friends. God made us to be productive, and that's why we have to serve here, to get used to serving. The idea of service pervades the book of Revelation. The most glorious verse on this subject occurs in the last chapter, in Revelation 22, verse 3. Let me just find it for you. This is what it says. Revelation 22, verse 3. No longer will there be any curse. The throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in the city, and his servants will serve him. That's what it says right there in the scriptures. It tells us we'll be serving him in heaven. All of us will be serving in the fullest expression of the capacity that God has given to us and the giftedness which he has blessed us. We will discover new gifts, new interests, new pursuits, and we will have new responsibility, and we will be able to exercise positions of authority. And whatever we do in heaven will have eternity stamped all over it. Think of that. Would your attitude to work, to serving, change today if you knew that everything you did, every ounce of energy you expended, every product you produced, every building you designed, every poem that you write, every bit of art that you do, every lesson that you taught would last forever? Crikey, what a legacy. That's the heritage that we will have in heaven. Heaven won't be boring because our work won't be boring. It will be exciting. Do you know, it's fair to say that in heaven, our longing for home will be filled. Romans 8, 22 to 23. They tell us that. Let me read that to you now. Romans 8, 22 to 23. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies. My friends, there is a hunger with all creation, and even among us who have God's Spirit within us. It is a yearning and like an anticipation for the coming day of ultimate redemption. The redemption process which was unleashed at Calvary isn't finished yet, my friends. Please believe me. God won't be finished until all creation is redeemed, and we yearn for that day. The decaying world around us will be replaced at the end of time by a new heaven and a new earth and this new city of Jerusalem. And really, that's what our spirits truly crave. Ecclesiastes tell us that God has placed eternity in our hearts. This is what it says. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men. You know, God created us with a space in our souls that can't be satisfied by anything except things of everlasting duration. We need permanence. We need transcendence. We try to cram like temporal things into an empty space within us, but they don't assuage our spiritual appetite. My friends, when we get to heaven, that ache is going to vanish. When we get to heaven, everything that we do will bring us perfect satisfaction and a lasting reward. When we get to heaven, we will never again engage in anything that will leave us feeling just a tad empty. When we get to heaven, everything we do will bring joy. We'll be home. My friends, we may have gotten a little bored with lockdown, and some of us may be getting a little bored with church. But it's safe to say that we won't be bored in heaven. Heaven is going to be the most exciting, adventure-filled place your mind can imagine, multiplied by trillions. The question is, will you be there?